So that's uh, that's a natural fact, as might be said. So we are live. We're on the thing. We're on the computer after some
Oh,
computer
we're on
problems
the thing. Are
again.
you going to talk tech? That's a technical term that I'm not familiar with.
What?
You're on the thing.
Oh yeah, we're on the thing. The thing is what we're on. We're doing our best to get the thing working right. I think we got it working right. I'm not sure, but
Then his
I'm
screen
going
went all purple, not black, not white, not checkered, not
purple, which
not
is a
not not
bad
flickering.
yeah, which is a bad color.
He just likes
If
that
you
color,
are
royal color.
yeah, if you are a computer person, purple is probably worse than black because black just means it's shut off. Purple usually means that it went belly up for some reason, and you're
It's
gonna
got
have to figure
jelly.
out the reason.
It might be
So,
jelly or some other condiment in the inner workings of the pituiter.
well, I purposely don't eat over the computer, and I haven't had anything jelly lately, so I don't know. I'm not sure what jelly it could be or how the jelly could be there, but I'm living in a world where who knows, much as the rest of the world is this morning, who the hell knows what's happening? Who knows how it's going? Who knows anything about anything?
Are members of Congress and other voices of concern suggesting that the Secret Service is letting guys through in Blaine, Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. And if you come by train from Torrance, California, you get a pass, but you have to get through the gauntlet. You can get your shot off at your targets. You can take a pop shot at Cash Patel, but you got to run through the gauntlet, and you
Well,
got to.
are there people suggesting that? I mean, I guess I shouldn't say that. I guess, uh, 2 minutes after it happened on Saturday night, there were people suggesting that
That it
on
was a
social
fix.
media.
It was a
It,
show.
yeah, it was a virtual shit show on social media right after them, and we are talking, of course, about uh,
The,
I don't
attempt.
know what to call it. Oh, you want to call it an assassination attempt? You can call
I
it an
think we'll
assassination
call it an
attempt,
incident.
an incident. I don't know what it's being called. There was a ruckus. It was, if nothing, it was a ruckus caused by somebody who seems to be whacked out
Disturbed.
from your neck of
Disturbed.
the woods. I blame it on you. Um,
He got a good education before he turned himself into a victim of hate and distrust and misgivings. He got a fine education, was sent out into the world to be a engineer, mechanical engineer with a Caltech education behind him. He taught school. He was a gamester, creating electronic games, and he was someone who took exception with the works of Donald Trump and the men who back his efforts in this world. The leadership of the White House and the what's the word that I'm looking for? The members of his closest advisors that were the target of his feelings of less than, his feelings of discord. He had to stop the rapists and the pedophiles and the
well,
evildoers and the war makers by creating more war and more misgiving and more hate and more distrust and more violence.
when you sow hate, when you sow the seeds of hate, you get the seeds of hate back. I mean,
They come right back on you. They come back in
this.
spades.
I heard the beginning of Caroline Levitt's, Caroline with a K, um, Levitt's little diatribe this morning against Jimmy Kimmel and against uh, virtually saying that Saint Donald, Donald Trump is that I mean the idea that this happens in a vacuum. There's these bunch of people who are Democrats who sit around and just plot ways to discredit Donald Trump, to encourage people to go out and hate him. If anybody encourages hate in the last 10 years of this country, 12
nothing
years
like
of
it.
this country, it's Donald Trump.
True.
It's brought upon us an unprecedented period of people splitting, people not being able to talk to each other, people pitting people against each other, a whole renewal of racism. So to stand up in front of a national audience and try to run this idea by people that Donald's got nothing to do with it. He was an innocent victim standing on the corner while a couple of guys came by with shotguns and started shooting. It's just such bullshit.
He was an innocent that was molested.
He is the main purveyor of hate in this country
and around the world. He's destroyed our relationships with all our lifelong allies and people who have worked with us and supported us and maintained the NATO alliance and the CETO alliance and the friendliness between nations that even with Canada has been destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to see the guy. I don't want to see him get shot. I don't want a tragedy like that to happen to in front of all of our eyes.
No, we saw it. We saw he got wounded in the ear. He's fine. He'll be fine.
But this whole idea that he has nothing to do with it, that he is an innocent bystander in all of this, is just so preposterous. It offends me. She offends me, and the whole idea that I tell you what, you want to tone what's going on in this country down. Tell your boss to shut the fuck up, to not put multi-page diatribes on social media at 2:00 in the morning that get people that are up at 2:00 in the morning, usually many times unstable people.
And why do an interview with Norah O'Donnell right after an assassination attempt if you're going to savage her in the first tweet that you put together following the interview that you willingly gave?
The man doesn't know how not to hate. If there's any conclusion I've drawn from a lifetime of living with this guy as a thing in my life, he does not know how not to hate. He is all about hate. He is all about disrupting a system. He is all about himself. And if you can't see that, now, if you were a normal person, you would stand up this morning or Saturday night and you would say, you know what? We got to turn down the tone on this whole thing.
No, they always say that, but then Mike
Johnson. I'm not gonna tweet anymore at 2:00 in the morning. I'm not gonna say hateful things anymore. I'm going to approach the rest of my time from an angle of trying to unify this country, trying to turn down the temperature on the rhetoric that's going to get somebody killed. And has, in fact, gotten people killed already in this country. But when you go on, when you tweet in the middle of the night that you're going to eliminate an entire civilization, when you tweet in the middle of the night that this person is no good and that person is no good and that person should be put in jail and that person should people should go after him and that the people that fomented the violence on January 6th should be pardoned. When you put that stuff out there, what do you expect? What do you expect? Because at some point people say The only way you can fight this guy, the only way that you can handle this guy is by the same kind of violence
Take him out. Well,
that he
the funny thing
puts.
about Trump is that he has long since surrendered his innocence, and those around him endorse him, surrender their innocence, and they are complicit. They are working as a unintentionally, perhaps, but the results are the same. Even Marco Rubio, who's trying to stay as far away from the administration that he serves as possible, not ever visible, not in the war that we're conducting, not in the peace talks that we're theoretically part of, not in the ceasefire, not in the appearance for all the members of the cabinet and the entire line of succession. We're in the one room in that hotel this weekend, but no Marco.
Well, how in the world, and this is something that bothered me about this since Saturday night, how in the world could you be at war with a country, making threats like you're making to a country that's known for terrorism? How could you be doing that and put all of your top officials in the government in one room? Isn't that what the Iranians did? Isn't that exactly how we got them?
That's how he changed their succession and their linear organization for the next leader to be taken seriously. Of course, in this case, they were just taken out of the room in a body bag.
I mean, how in the world? And I guess maybe if you had somebody that knew what they were doing instead of a plumber as your head of security, that maybe things might have been handled a bit differently. Maybe there would have been somebody to say, gee there, Mark Wayne Mullen, maybe we need to put some people here. Maybe we need to do this. Maybe we need to do that. Maybe we need to do a few things instead of a bunch of yes people who would look at him and say, oh, that looks just fine.
Let's have some champagne and a Waldorf salad and sit down and then enjoy the evening. Let's all get in the same room.
So, I mean, just the idea that you had all these people in the same room in an unsecure environment, the same place that their hero, Ronald Reagan, got shot.
It's the same level of incompetency that they bring to every major decision that they make, whether it be the war or the economy or our relationship with our closest allies or the running of the nation or the safety of our school children from mumps, measles, and rubella. There is no safety to be had. There's no safe quarter. You have to rely on the kindness of strangers.
Well, one of the lines I saw on social media, and it struck me as so true and sad and true, was that if you wanted to know how to duck under a table, you should have called the local high school and asked some of the kids, because they'd be able to tell you. They've been drilling on it for years. The guy traveled across the country with a shotgun, with pistols, who knows what else, and
Knives.
Yeah. I mean, with weapons, and felt free felt emboldened to do that.
In his email that he sent to his parents and friends, he talked about how lax security was at the hotel and how silly it was that he could get this far and get this close. And he hadn't even done anything yet. And he was amazed at the lack of attention to detail.
You're going to, I'm sure that there's a lot that's going to come out about this guy, because they're going to investigate every corner of his background. But there's something that's just not sitting right with me about this. I don't know exactly what it is.
He seems too sane. If you read his
he
email,
seems like somebody you would hire almost to do something like this. So I'm reserving judgment because we don't know, and I'm going to try not to go to the social media standard and the YouTube standard of everybody thinking that they know what happened and what's going on until they see it. I'm going to try to say, okay, let's wait till the investigating bodies here give us at least some of the information that they know. It was odd to me, and I'm sure to many people, how 20 minutes after this event happened, um, all of the Republicans, all of the different administration people were launching their campaign for the White House ballroom.
Yeah, that would have saved everybody.
Well, we need to have first of all, it's not a White House event.
One secure room where all parties are held in Washington.
Yeah, it's so I mean, it was almost like if you wanted to plan something to take some of the heat off of that whole situation, this looks like the thing you would plan, wouldn't it?
It was the first thing that Trump said.
So, well, and they were saying it moments after it happened that there were administration people on social media, on Twitter, and on Facebook, and on the different social media platforms saying, well, this proves the need for. It was almost like it was scripted, almost like a memo went out from Nitwit headquarters. Now, I'm glad. Listen, I'm glad he's all right. I'm glad that because it just would have set off such a firestorm of stuff if something would have happened to him. That you know, and I know, we all know that it would have been that this morning would have had a very different look to it.
Martyrdom.
And I don't want him to get that. I don't want him to. I don't want him to be a martyr. I don't want him to be somebody who enjoys that status. I want him to pay for what he's done. And to be honest with you, I don't want to see him. I want to see him not be president anymore. I think every second that he's president does this country a disservice.
He will descend into insignificance.
No, see, I don't think that's. I really disagree with you there, Michael. I don't think he's going to be insignificant. Now, I think a big portion of the country, that'll happen to him with a big portion of the country, but there's still 30% or 20% of people that actually, if you ask them, say that he's doing a good job.
And they would be pleased or satisfied with anything that he said. Any irrational utterance will satisfy them totally. Any comment that is irrational and not rooted in reality that he can come up with post-presidency will be welcomed by the Trump lovers, and they will find meaning in it, despite the fact that there is none. And they'll find solace in it, despite the fact that he wishes peace to no one. And they'll find inspiration in it, in spite the fact that he's probably never inspired anybody with true inspiration in his life. The negative aspects of his personality will be magnified, and he will descend into insignificance, because increasingly asking him his opinion about something post-presidency will just get you an answer that can't be justified or used or understood in any meaningful way.
It's a shame that we've descended to this once again in the country. I always thought that in the 60s, toward the end of the decade, when the hippies, the peace and love movement, had descended into the weathermen and the violence.
Townhouses started blowing up.
Bombs were being made. Whitehall Street, a bombing there was like a regular occurrence. I always thought that was a sad part of the legacy of what was going on, because it took away from all of the people who really had this idea of a society where maybe we would be kinder to each other, we would help each other, we would be a society that would respect each other. Um,
Well, we've long since jettisoned the peace and love theory.
yeah, and we've just gone away from it so badly.
Now we can't even wage war when we make up our mind to.
Yeah, I mean,
we become inefficient and under the thumb of outside influences. We just react. We don't have an idea about what we should be doing as a nation.
and I'd like to say that, maybe this will wake Donald Trump up.
No.
But there's no chance. We've seen,
no chance in hell, Ben.
We saw things from him. Things happened before that. The one I'm thinking of that's coming to my mind right away was after the shooting in Butler, Pennsylvania, where everybody said we'll see a new Donald Trump. We'll see a different Donald Trump. We'll see a kinder, gentler Donald Trump, and people were lulled into a sense of believing that.
Not a chance.
And anybody that knew this guy, anybody that knew him, and the press was trying to sell it to us.
It was an angle to cover that story.
Different Donald Trump. No.
There is
and
no
it won't be a different Donald Trump this morning. It won't be a different Donald Trump this week. It won't be a different Donald Trump when he meets the King and Queen Camilla later this week. It won't
That's going to be a mess. That's going to be just a terrible, terrible idea. I don't know why the King didn't say, you've just had an incident. Let's let things calm down. I can come anytime. I'm the king. I have days off. I can travel when I need to.
Yeah, I've got 30 vacation days a year. Haven't used many of them.
I'll be over later.
So why don't you order out next week or 2 weeks or a month from now, and
Or why don't you guys do your thing in Washington? I'll go to LA, get some Mexican food, relax, call me when you're ready. Or you could fly out and meet me.
Yeah, or I'll go, we'll tell you what I'll do. I'll go meet Obama, go talk to him. Bing, forget it.
Okay, forget about it.
That ain't gonna happen. I thought it was interesting. There was something it's funny that and Levitt mentioned it in her press conference this morning, and I thought it was. I like Jimmy Kimmel. I think he does a great job. I think he takes this guy to task on everything. I thought that Thursday night he went a bit too far when he made the joke about Melania waiting to be a widow. I thought that was, I didn't feel right about that. I didn't laugh at that. I didn't think that was a funny joke, and I think that sometimes you can get a little full of yourself.
Was that the only material that bothered you? Did he continue with other items that were in bad taste?
No, not really. I mean, I thought that was the one that made me kind of go, I don't know, But then again, I've heard Donald Trump say just as members of administration say just as bad things.
Sure.
So it didn't feel right coming from Jimmy Kimmel, because I see him. I mean, listen, I think that Colbert has much more of the classier, higher end, higher brow,
high-minded comedy.
Kind of comedy that goes on. Jimmy goes for that lowest common denominator type stuff. And I appreciate both of their comedy. I think Colbert has really stepped up his game in his last 6 months.
And he's coming down. We're right on the edge of the last month.
We're close to it. But I just thought that was a joke that was in bad taste. I think when you involve, but again, you have a president that has involved other people's wives and other people's kids he's brought them into it. He's made them fair game.
And complicit. They're all part of the same
So what do
source
you
of
expect?
filth.
What do you expect when you when you drag people down into the sewer? What do you expect? They're just going to sit there? But I just didn't think it was a good move on Jimmy Kimmel's part.
Plus, the strongman profile that Trump likes to emulate, he can't emulate fully because Putin doesn't care if he's in the press. Putin doesn't care if he's on TV that night. Putin doesn't care where the cameras are because they're not going to be on him. Orban, other strongmen, other politicians that have taken the strongman approach to their career, they don't have to be on television every night. They don't have to tweet every 30 minutes. They're not part of that. But Trump, you see, wants that personality to be something that people associate with him, the strongman. But his need to be part of the discussion on every subject at all times, 20 times a day, puts him in a vulnerable position where he's visible and they know where he is and they know what he's thinking and they know where he's going. And he has to play golf. Putin doesn't play golf. Orban didn't play golf. Hitler didn't play golf. These guys don't go out and mingle with the people and consider Tiger Woods their good friend. They don't have good friends.
Hitler was big on bowling, I think.
Well, he was good at that.
Yeah, he had that lawn bowling thing set up out there. I mean, the whole thing is that Trump.
Who has the press conference after an assassination attempt, and you are the press conference. I'm the guy they tried to get. They just tried to kill me, but look here, I'm here. My hair's a little messed up. My shirt is wrinkled, but that's because the Secret Service guys, were pulling on me. By the way, he went right down. He took 2 steps from
he couldn't walk.
The table.
I mean, they had to carry him out.
Right.
I mean, could you imagine Donald Trump trying to rush out of a room? I mean, you would have more of a chance of me trying to rush out of a room, and I've got 2 arthritic ankles, 2 arthritic knees, and a number of other maladies that you could put on a list. There's no rushing me. I don't rush anywhere under my own power. The best you could hope for is for those guys to lift me up and carry me out of the room. And that's essentially what they had to do with him.
And with Vance, he didn't have the time to put down a napkin. And little Mike Johnson, his little feet weren't even touching the ground as he was manhandled off the stage.
Now, you got to give J.D. Vance credit. He was able to get out of the room under his own power. But the best picture
actually stayed on his feet, yeah.
The best picture that I saw on social media, when I had it, and when the computer went down, I lost the picture. I'm going to see if I can find it here in a second. The best picture of the night was Stephen Miller.
Is he running?
The official twit of the administration. The guy who just by his mere existence makes you dislike him.
He smells
the kid we all hated in high school.
It tastes bad. It smells bad. It looks bad.
Yeah, he had a picture published, or he didn't have it published, but it was published on social media of him using his wife as a human shield to get out of the dinner. Did I add that his wife is 8 months pregnant? What a strong showing for one of the biggest pieces of shit that's ever been produced by this country.
And Bobby Kennedy Jr., did anyone help him out, or they just say, "You're good on your own. You'll be fine"?
Somebody, one of the CBS correspondents, I guess, was sitting next to him and said that he got up and he struggled a little bit to get out. Part of the problem with that dinner, and I know people that have gone to that dinner personally have told me about it. It is so freaking packed that every seat, it's not like a normal banquet. You go to a wedding in a space, there's 8 to a table.
You think they'll have it?
Probably got 16 to a table in this place.
Think they'll reschedule it They're supposed to do it within 30
I don't know.
days.
That's what they're saying. They're saying they're going to try to reschedule it. I don't know.
Give them a chance to rehearse their new security procedures.
It just said, well, again, you put a plumber in charge of security, and that's what you're going to get. But that picture of Stephen Miller hiding behind his wife will live with me through eternity. It's just I'm going to try to call it up here. It's just a picture that you look at and you go, what a chump. What
I would expect nothing more from him.
Yeah, what an absolute chump that he's hiding behind it. Now let me say something, because I do want to, I did not verify this picture, so I don't know. Maybe it's AI. Maybe it's been manipulated. So I will take it with a bit of a grain of salt. And I want to say that because I certainly don't want to take away from any heroic moment of Stephen Miller's.
And you have to say that about all news coverage from here on out. They could have been absolutely created. The scene you're seeing never happened.
Yeah, but the best cover, the best pictures of that dinner, besides the one that they got everybody out safe and everything, was the media people who, once they realized that the dinner was not going to resume, started taking bottles of booze from tables and sticking them in their bags.
NBC paid for this. CBS paid for this. I'm grabbing a bottle.
So they were, there was no, they didn't miss a beat, as we've said many times on this program.
One thing that we can also say is that the coverage from the scene was extensive because every reporter in town was there.
And it was mostly from under tables. I mean, it was that and the one photo, the one film of the guy who was sitting there eating a salad.
Just couldn't be
the
bothered.
Whole thing. I bet up $200 for this ticket. I'm eating my salad.
Plus, I'm starving. I've been waiting all afternoon. They said, don't eat, don't spoil your appetite.
Oh man. So it's so more will be revealed on this. I think it was a sad, another sad Saturday night in Trumpville.
Well, the reason people think it was staged is because it's completely distracted everyone from the war. Do you care about the Strait of Hormuz today? Do you know if it's open or closed?
Well, from what I have heard this morning, what I've seen this morning, that the talks were called off. That was before the dinner that happened, and evidently the Iranians have come back with another proposal to try to get the straits open again. I don't know what Trump has said about that proposal, but evidently the Iranians have come up with some kind of interest in some kind of negotiations, getting them going again to get us moving again. Whether Trump will accept that, not accept it, whether he thinks he's in a better position, not in a better position, I don't know.
And he doesn't
I actually saw somebody on some social media platform, I forget which one it was now because I was looking at a bunch of them, criticizing the Iranian administration, the Iranian people, for not expressing their sympathy at the events.
The events. Well,
of Saturday night, and I was like, "You fucking idiot! Do you realize
how many leaders of that leadership have we killed in the last 2 months?"
Yeah. Do you realize how many people that we've killed of their leadership since this whole business started? Are you cognizant of that?
And their wives and their children.
Yeah, and their children. Not to mention, the school full of children that we went out and killed.
Actually,
So, I
we
mean,
don't mention that anymore. Thank you, Vinny.
again, how do you expect to get sympathy from these people um, when you've done something? Now, again, the Iranians have done their share of killing too. They've done their, they've certainly, it seems to be the way of life in the region. You kill us, we'll kill you. You kill them, we'll kill them. You kill them, I'll kill them. You kill us, they'll kill you.
But the Strait of Hormuz was open during this war until we manufactured the situation that closed it. And now we can't manufacture a situation to reopen it. And I
Well, I
blame
don't know.
this on the generals. How many generals does it take to keep the Straits of Hormuz open? How many did it take to even figure out that they would be a factor in the war going forward? How many of them warned Trump and the other decision makers on what would happen if the straits were closed and what would be the payment we'd have to swallow if they were closed for months at a time? What would happen to the national delivery of energy to the world? What would be the cost to us? What would be the way to fix it once it was broken? And they've come up with nothing for like that. How many generals does it take to open the strait
Well,
or to keep them open?
to be fair about it, Michael, I don't know that the Iranians, from everything I've read, ever considered that the Straits of Hormuz was a card in their deck
Because they couldn't keep it open or they couldn't keep it closed. It was beyond their ability.
until all of this stuff happened. I don't know that they ever considered it to be something that they had.
And it doesn't belong to them. It belongs to Oman.
Yeah, that they could do something with, that they could make a negotiating point or something. I just don't know that they ever did anything like this before, considered it to be a problem, to consider it to be something that you could do to stop the world's economy. But in the last 8 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever it is that we're into this war now, they have found out that they hold the key to pretty much the world economy.
We showed them how to do it.
We said, hey, if you close this,
look at the mess it'll make. You'll be in the driver's seat. In fact, today it was the German foreign minister or some top delegate from their governing party that said that the war so far has humiliated the United States, and it's a ragtag bunch of guys who are doing it. We don't even know who's in charge. We don't know how they get their orders to their people. We don't know how they organize their resistance. We don't know how they keep the strait open or closed, or what they do with the remainder of their Navy or their Air Force or their drones. But we've been humiliated as a result of the war so far, and the people responsible for it are unnamed, unknown. They're the survivors that haven't been killed yet.
Well, we know that there has been help for the Iranians from the Chinese. We know there's been help for the Iranians from the Russians, not in weapons, not in a tangible. They're not sending planes or guns or things like that we know of. I don't know that all of that's true, but they've helped the Iranians in their quest to be able to build drones and
target them.
And the Chinese have helped them with some of the raw materials that they need to be able to build these materials.
And they've given them intelligence and targeting information.
And they're telling them, everything they know. Where we are, what we're doing, where our ships are. They don't have that.
And the result of that, Vinny, is that the Russians and the Chinese can say, look what happens when you pressure the United States on these points. Look what happens when you turn them down at this point. Look what happens when you take away their target. Look what happens when you slow down their ability to react. Look what happens when you close one waterway. They can't adjust to it. Their Navy is not so strong. Their Navy can't keep it open. They cannot, under any circumstances, insist that the Strait of Hormuz remain open. Anyone can close it down. 20 little ships from Iran can shut the whole thing down in both directions. And there's nothing that the United States can do about it.
It seems that the Iranians have taken a page from our naval book. Before World War II, there was no such thing as a PT boat. Well, it didn't exist. You had destroyers and battleships and
give me a big boat. I don't want a little
corvettes.
boat.
Right. Everybody wanted admirals didn't want a small boat, and there were some in the United States Navy that said, well, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have a fast boat.
They can maneuver.
Get in there, drop a couple of torpedoes. It doesn't take but a couple of torpedoes to sink one of these ships and get the hell out of there quickly. Boom, boom. No big thing. It runs on as a matter of fact, we can build the boats out of wood.
They go faster.
So we can make them faster. We can build them faster. We can build them out of trees. We don't have to worry about aluminum shortages or steel shortages or metal shortages. We can just cut some trees up and glue them together in a warehouse in Bayonne, New Jersey.
Call them PTs.
And we'll call them PTs. And we'll stick some torpedo tubes on the side. And we'll put 12 torpedoes in each one. And park them on these different islands. And when we feel the need to go out there and sink a ship, we can send them out there. And they'll sink a ship. They might not be good for knocking a submarine out, but they'll get your battleship.
They can also drop depth charges.
They'll sink a destroyer.
Yep.
And the Iranians have looked at that, it seems, and said, it's not a bad idea. We get a speedboat. We load it up with
munitions,
all kinds of whatever we need to take a ship out. And we speed at the thing. We blow it up, and we take off, or who's ever driving the boat goes with it and gets to meet the virgins early.
We can board it and seize the oil. Profit.
Yeah, not a big thing. They've taken, we have the mightiest military in the world. They've taken some note of that and said, how do they do it? And look,
we have a Navy that cannot respond to the strait being closed. They have no plan B. They can blockade it and say, no, you didn't close it, we closed it, but they can't open it. And opening it is the trick.
Well, it seems to be a problem. It seems to be that we've stretched our Navy. As a matter of fact, our Navy isn't in the Strait of Hormuz. Our Navy
we're still part of the blockade.
Gulf of Oman, or it's it's not in the strait. The Iranians are blocking the strait. We're blocking outside the strait.
We're making sure that their closing of the strait remains closed.
So
when the trick is the absolute opposite, keep it open and now reopen it.
And again, the one thing that I don't understand and I don't know, and it still hasn't prevailed upon me yet. What is the answer to this? And if anybody knows, please let us know. Let me know. What is the end game? What will, and we've been saying this since this thing started, what will make the United States happy so that we say
funding Kushner's next project?
Yeah.
$2 billion and he's good. He'll agree to anything.
Well, what is it? What is it that the United States wants out of the Iranians to make this whole big problem go away?
Acquiescence, a promise never to have a nuclear weapon, stop enriching uranium, surrender the uranium that's already been enriched, all the things that they won't do.
So those are some of the things that you look at and you just say,
Or they could just say, we don't know what we want. Can Israel help us with that? What do we want, Israel? What should we tell the Iranians we want?
well, I would think to
DoorDash.
myself, and this is just me, right? In my mind, I would think the less you could involve the Israelis in this thing, the better it might be for coming to some kind of resolution.
Three-way talks would never work.
Well, not with Netanyahu.
Nope, not with Netanyahu. He still hasn't turned Lebanon into rubble.
So I don't I think if you can get some kind of deal going without that's agreeable to Israel so that they'll stop shooting, because once Israel starts shooting, we're back in it anyway.
Well, what's the last thing that was agreeable to them that you can think of, except maybe matzo ball soup?
I don't know, Michael. I don't know. The Iranians saying that they won't attack them, that they won't support groups that attack them, which seems to be a fair request. I don't see that as an out of the line request.
Considering what we're really talking about is Hezbollah.
Well, yeah, or what's the other one? I mean, there's a few different groups that
Hezbollah is the one working from Lebanon.
Yeah, it just seems that are there any other new groups popping up? Because as we often see in these different scenarios, as soon as these young men are old enough to hold a rifle or to learn how to build a bomb, they form a group.
New kids with the bomb.
They build the bomb.
New kids with the war.
Yeah, new kids on the bomb, I guess.
Yeah, right.
So I don't know, Michael. I think that's one that also has to be figured out. Who's the up and comers? Who's the group that we're going to have to worry about 5 years from now? And how can we get that information? Who is going to give us that information? So,
and what will we do? That we've taken great steps to look foolish, incompetent, unable, and gobsmacked in all our efforts so far. They're not going anywhere. They're not producing the results. This war was supposed to be over in 30 minutes, and it's still dragging on to the point where it's now not even the top headline, and nobody's blaming anybody. Nobody's blaming Trump. Nobody's blaming the generals. Nobody's blaming the United Arab Emirates. Nobody's blaming Jared Kushner. There's no one getting the blame. No one getting the credit. No one in charge. And
it's always a bad sign, isn't it?
The Secretary of State is not even a factor. Not even invited to the party. Not in the building, and he's not going where Jared Kushner should not be going. You send your Secretary of State to do the main.
Yeah, he's not even in the building. Nobody has said to Marco, "Listen, you stay here because we don't want you involved," or we don't know what his role is here.
Or we're going to do Cuba next, so why don't you work on that quietly, and at your desk, and let us know what you think. We'll get to it. We'll let you know when we're done here, and then Cuba.
Well, there's probably people in Cuba saying, thinking that the United States is going to attack, and they're being told, well, you'll have a better life if the United States comes in, and they're saying, we'll stick with what we got. Well, at least we know in the morning we're going to have to stand online for bread and some Cuban coffee. And we'll get our sip of coffee, and we'll get our little piece of bread with some jam or something on it, and we'll go about our day.
Good luck to you, Cuba.
But to be involved with what you're trying to do is just not a good thing for us. We have cigars.
As Damon Runyon would say, when someone would wager everything on a bet that didn't wash out, it comes up mud. It's like you're playing the game, but the results, that comes up mud. You don't like that. You don't want that.
we've certainly I don't know. We've
Next,
certainly
okay, the next warrior for insanity has to come from NYU. We sent you one from Caltech. We're not sending anybody from USC. They're not ready to go. Their game is not perfected. So the next one is from the East Coast. Pick them out.
well, let's
Get them
hope
going.
there's not another one. We know there will be. It's just the way things are working these days. And I hope it doesn't come from NYU. My nephew goes there, and I don't want to have to worry about Secret Service people rousting his dorm.
I'm 10
Yeah,
blocks from Caltech. Of course, that
yeah.
guy hasn't been there since 2017. So not like
Well,
he worked at Caltech. He just got his education there. And that's a hell of a school. You have to say
yeah.
one thing about this guy. At one time, he had a brain. I don't know what he did with it. I don't know how he mismanaged it, but nobody goes to Caltech and graduates with a master's degree without a brain, a real brain.
Well,
But there's no guarantee how long that brain will work, how long
well,
it'll
nobody's
last.
saying he doesn't have a brain. It's just been infected. I mean, he's been for some reason somehow. And again, I keep going back to this thing, with Caroline with a K, talking about St. Donald and the idiocy that he has nothing to do with this.
My hands are
Um,
clean. I was not involved.
Again, how can you possibly try to sell that to the
Pretty soon
American?
he'll say he wasn't even there. I wasn't there. I don't know what they were talking about.
When you put this kind of, and listen, I'm guilty of it too. I worry about it sometimes. It's just the way we talk because we're certainly have put stuff out there. I mean, we have not on this level, but the rhetoric that we buy into, that we hear all the time. It goes against a lot of the principles that you try to live your life by. Don't harm people, be nice to people. But what do you do when all the time you're faced with the kind of stuff in your everyday life? It's not even that it's done once a week or twice a week. It's every day with this guy.
Plus, the law firms that caved into him, the colleges and universities that caved into him, the individuals who gave up their beliefs and caved into him, the people who work for him who can't speak their mind, who cave into him every day. Somebody has to stand up and say he's a lying son of a bitch and should be out of office.
Yeah, yeah. It's we don't want to. You don't want to shoot him to get him out of office, but you'd certainly like to see the Democrats gain some modicum of power, so that he'd have to put some guardrails on what he's doing as president, or
But
what
we
he
know
tries to do.
he'll never do that. It has to be imposed upon him, I think.
And you're in a situation where, okay, let's say that the Democrats have a historic victory. Democratic Party just blows everybody out of the water, and they take the midterm elections, and they hold a majority of the Senate and a majority of. Matter of fact, they have the 60% in the House.
And they can start the process of fixing this nation.
Right, but what is job one? Let's say that fantasy of so many becomes reality.
Well,
what do you do to fix the nation first? Do you go after Donald Trump?
Trump's power is muted, but their power is enhanced, so use it wisely. Fix something.
Right. Or do you start to say, all right, let's fix what's wrong with the country first. We'll have time to get to, what do we want to impeach this guy? Do we want to do this? Do we want to? I don't think it would be a wise idea for the country to go through another impeachment trial right away, or this or that. Fix the country.
And release the
Give people relief. Help them. Help the people. Make that your campaign.
Price controls and fix it. Fix them now.
Make that your campaign. People are dying for help. They're dying to feel like somebody wants to help them. And with all due respect to John Ossoff, who was on, I forget what show. Oh, he was on with, I think it was one of the MS Now shows. And he was on talking about, that kind of Democratic Party line of we're going to get on and we're going to investigate this and we're going to investigate that. The guy driving the pickup truck just waiting for the light on the corner over here. He doesn't want to hear what you're going to investigate. He wants to hear that he goes to fill up his truck and it's going to be $0.50 to $1 cheaper.
Gotta be.
For gasoline.
For the number one issue is affordability. And that was before the war drove gas to the ceiling.
Right.
I'm so sorry that for all the people who work for network television, they keep telling me the gas is over $4 a gallon. It was over $4 a gallon before the war here in California. It's over $5 a gallon now. And if you can't figure that out, then stop telling me it's over $4 because it ain't over $4 here, and it's not over $4 in your state either. It's over $5.
It's the cheapest gas I have seen in this area is $4.99 at Costco for regular, $4.99.9. So
here's something that I figured that I didn't know about. My sister Diana drove to Marin to LA and LA back to Marin. The cheapest gas she encountered was on Highway 5, which is usually the most expensive gas. 536 is the cheapest gas in the state, and it's not in San Francisco or LA. It's in the Central Valley on Highway 5, where all the corporate stations are pumping gas into you so you can finish driving through the state of California.
Yeah.
536 is the cheapest gas in the state.
Cheapest that we've seen here is I saw one for 440 something, and it was out in Yakima. That was the cheapest gas I've seen in this state. So, Senator Ossoff, I appreciate that you want to do something about Donald Trump, and I appreciate that you want to do something about what's going on. But here's a memo to the Democrats. Worry about affordability. Worry about how you're going to make the average person be able to get a job. Worry about how you're going to make the average person be able to get their kids into school.
And remember, Vinnie, Trump said he was going to make things cheaper, and he got the vote on the basis of it. He didn't do it. Make things cheaper, and you'll get the vote now and throughout the lifetime of the people who remember what you did for them.
Yeah, it's really that simple to me.
Make it cheaper. Don't talk about it.
It's really that simple to me. And whether you do that with wage price freeze or however you do it, you got to do it. That's what job one is.
You do it, or you do it.
Yeah, that's what the job is. And the person, I believe, that makes it clear that going after somebody else is not going to be the priority. The priority here is going to be we're going to straighten this country out. We're going to figure out what's wrong, and we're going to go to work as a Congress, roll up our sleeves,
Senate that works,
and get it to where people can have a little bit of room.
And there's no leader right now. The funny thing, Vinny, is state of California is going to have a governor's race coming up, and I don't know who to vote for right now. I don't know who's in the lead. I don't know who I want as the governor. The nation is getting ready to run against Donald Trump in the memory of Donald Trump, and I have no idea who I'm going to vote for the next president. The leadership is yet to take shape.
You don't think he's going to run again, huh?
I don't know what he's going to pull. But if last night is any indication, he hasn't got the energy to get up from the table.
Well, yeah, he's essentially Joe Biden.
Joe Biden at least wore a 40 suit.
Right. He's essentially though that in that he's a lame duck president.
Yep.
And there's nothing you can do about that. Now, again, who knows what his sycophants are going to, who knows what the Lindsey Grahams of the world and the Mark Wayne Mullins of the world are going to try to pull.
They'll be rats leaving the ship before it's all over.
but be on the lookout. Pay attention. Pay attention to your local politics. Pay attention because this is an important election. This is going to be those little offices are going to count.
Yep.
Because this is the setup for the presidential.
You know what's coming Wednesday? Wednesday is going to be a wacky day, Vinny.
You think so?
Yep.
Could it get any wackier than this weekend?
Yeah, I think it can.
Could it get any wackier than what we saw?
That was first class.
On Thursday.
That was first class wacky. That was some impressive wackiness.
Well, that's a good one. Impressive wackiness is good.
But can you imagine a guy traveling from Torrance, California, which is hard by the used to play Winter League nighttime softball in Torrance, California. But the guy takes a train to Chicago, another train to DC, and his plan all along to bring a shotgun, 2 handguns, and more than one knife was to just charge the area, which is just get a head of steam going. And I'm going to be going so fast they'll think I'm the road runner. They'll have no idea what to do.
Still be on the wrong floor.
And that was it. That was his plan. That was the whole thing. I'm going to run through. I'm going to run through the coverage, and I'll be in the end zone before they know what happened.
Well, Michael, maybe this will make your day feel a little bit better. Maybe this will make what's leading up to Wednesday, our Wednesday, a little bit better. The Pope. You remember him, right? The Pope Leo?
Remember him. Leo the 14th.
Yeah, he has said this morning, as he has got on the plane to leave Africa after his 4-nation African tour, that the unity or division of the church should not revolve around sexual matters.
Okay.
He says there are more important issues such as justice and equality that should take priority before that particular issue.
Okay.
Just something to ponder.
Go, Leo. Go. You're on a roll.
Is that maybe we should spend more time not worrying about who's sleeping with who and who's loving who, and more time worrying that people are getting a fair shake, that people are getting enough to eat.
Let's see what the king says. I want to see if he can equal that with a speech of gravity and peacemaking and importance and intelligence and something that the king should be saying right now.
Yeah, I think that I was pleased to see that this morning as I read my my morning digest, and pleased to see that we have at least one world leader, and I consider the Pope to be a world leader, that has his head in the right place, that has his thoughts and his ideas saying, we got to fix. I'm not worried about who's kissing who. I'm worried about the people have enough so they don't have chapped lips. Imagine that.
I'll see you Wednesday, Van.
See you Wednesday, Michael. If the Lord's willing, the creek don't rise, and we'll have a fine Wednesday and a pretty happening Friday, hopefully too.
It'll be freaky. It'll be fractious.
Take care of yourself. Have fun, and remember the great Sammy Davis Jr. said it every day of his life before. After he met Dean.
Where's my lighter?
And Frank. Peace, love, Manischewitz, baby.
It's quite a wine.
See you, Michael. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you on Wednesday.
See you then.
Bye-bye.